Why don't you give us a bit of a background as to who you are and what you do?
Well, I mean, I won't give you the full plotted history, as I know my boyish good looks would not suggest that I'm of a certain vintage, but I have been doing marketing for over 30 years now. Um, I suppose my career started back in the 1990s. Obviously before you were born or when you were in sort of long trousers, short trousers, Tom. Um, I worked for, I was lucky enough, I suppose, to work for Adidas UK as a category manager. So I looked after adventure, outdoor footwear and clothing, and alternative sports, which at the time was skateboarding and BMXing. And little did I know that 25 years later, we'd be watching skateboarding and BMXing on the Olympics. Um, it was something that was talked about within sort of the sport grassroots, within the sort of skateboard shops and the guys in the skate parks, but it was never thought that it would be structured enough to appear on TV. So yeah, that's been one of the highlights of the last few weeks enjoying watching that sport sort of on the big screen and wow how it's progressed in the last 25 years. I did 5 years there and then I went to work for the betting industry. Now a lot of people have issues with betting along the same sort of lines as tobacco and alcohol, and I can fully understand that. Um, I worked for two of the world's biggest brands, Ladbrokes and then Coral. I ran their retail marketing departments, so I was responsible for thousands of shops and what was on display in the shop windows and, POS all around the place. I've got to tell you, it was frantic. The daily diet of sporting events that you had to keep up on was relentless. Um, but it was a lot of fun and certainly taught me, a lot about managing things on a massive scale. Then I was asked to run an industry organization. The company was called 49s. Nobody would have heard of it, but I spent 18 very happy years there. My shareholders were Ladbrokes, William Hill, and Coral, so the big three bookmakers in the UK. And my job was to supply and promote products that were ubiquitous to the whole of the betting market in the UK. So there was over 10,500 shops across the UK and Ireland, and it was my job to fill the small gaps between the live action. So there'd be a horse race and a dog race. There'd be a few minutes in between that happening, and it was my job to fill it with a lottery style product or a numbers game. And in more recent years, I say more recent years, it was like 2001, which is obviously like a lifetime ago now. We invented something called virtual racing. Tom, I'm sure you don't frequent betting shops very often, but if you were to go into any betting shop in the land, you would see virtual events. So computer generated events on the big screen that you can bet on in exactly the same way as you would a live event. And yeah, I'm guessing it was one of my sort of one of the pinnacles of my career was developing a product which these days grosses, I don't know, so at last count about 1.5 billion quid a year for the UK betting industry. So yeah, a lot of fun. And then Ladbrokes and Coral merged as companies about 5 years ago, and I took the opportunity to take a nice redundancy as I've been there for so long, and I set up Miles Marketing. So that brings us to the present day. I offer a fully outsourced marketing department function. So in essence, I work with the smaller business owners to pull together a marketing plan and then I implement it on their behalf. So it's pretty much what you do, but on a marketing function. I'm affordable, if you like. The businesses that I deal with don't need a full-time team. They generally need to have a consistent presence across their marketing and I'm going to say a safe pair of hands, someone that's experienced to get on with the projects that are needed so that they can get on with what they do best. I also offer a range of bite-sized products. This is the gratuitous plug for my company. I offer a range of bite-sized products which are very much aimed at those that don't know where to start with their marketing, so the smaller end of the SME market. And they are short in terms of the time it takes to implement and small in terms of the amount of money it costs.
Okay.
There
Wow.
we go. That's my opening gambit. That's the background.
Particular type of business that you like to work with or you tend to work with most?
So, marketing and the principles of marketing apply to any business, Tom. However, I would always recommend to my clients that they focus on a particular area. When someone says, my target market is everybody, actually you're appealing to nobody. So I seem to have picked up a penchant for working with people that have dirty hands for a living. So engineering, construction, manufacturing. I find that my sort of straightforward, no nonsense approach is warmly welcomed by those kind of businesses, although I've helped businesses from all genres.
Okay. And interesting you say that because that's actually an area that I am focusing more on at the moment. So trades and construction.
Mhm.
Um, those business owners generally tend to be experts at what they do, but not numbers people. So that's kind of there's a big difference to be made there.
It is precisely what I found. They've generally built their business on the back of their expertise, making something, fixing something, developing something, and got themselves to a size where they now need to bring in expert help, but can't necessarily afford the 80, 100 plus £1,000 a year for an experienced
Let's
marketing
say I'm a
director.
construction business owner. We're
Mhm.
doing 2 million a year in revenue, and we decide, we decide that we need help with lead generation and marketing and getting more of those initial calls for the sales team. What would I say to you, and what's the kind of process that you would take me through, and what would you do for me?
So the first thing is to understand who your target market is, right? So um, depending on the size or the specialty of the construction company, there are actually specific construction lead generation companies out there. I'm not sure if I'm allowed to sort of mention them, but I, I do have access to one through one of my clients, and basically they're very large databases of construction projects that are on the go. So you may be a construction company right at the very sort of start of the project. You may be in charge of the whole construction, or you may be not necessarily a subcontractor, but a specialist supplier. So you might be a metal fabricator, as an example, where you produce balconies, or you might specialize in fencing or glass or whatever it may be, right? So my point is, especially within business to business, it's really important that you hone down and identify who it is you're trying to target. And the backbone of targeting those people is going to be a good CRM system. So customer relationship management. It's basically a database. You may or may not be surprised to hear that a lot of companies, when I talk to them, don't have this kind of setup. A lot of their customer data is kept on their email system or on their QuickBooks or their accounting software. But the first conversation I generally have with them is, let's look at your database. Let's look at how you're utilizing it or how it's segmented, and use that for the sales teams to be able to manage their targets, if you like, or manage their funnel. Without getting bogged down too much into the detail here, I'd recommend using an effective funnel to make yourself aware to your target market, right? So let's use your construction industry example. Let's say that you're looking to speak to more architects, as an example, right? So you would find or buy a list of architects, said architects, put them into your CRM system, and then move them through the funnel. So the first thing you might want to do is connect with them on social media, and maybe LinkedIn is the platform that you would do that. If they're a progressive architect, then maybe they've got a presence on Instagram or TikTok. We'll maybe talk about social media and what you should and shouldn't be on later on, but connect with them on that sort of level. And by that, Tom, I don't mean bombard them with DMs into their inbox, right? By that, I mean you follow them or you connect with them and start interacting or being social with them when they post and on their platform. The second thing that you can do is outreach via email. So within the funnel, you can send these people an email introducing your company and your services. And it's really important to remember that not everything needs to be digital. I know the youngsters are going to say everything happens online, but actually in this day and age, you can stand out quite nicely by sending something physical in the post. So it may be a nice bit of DM or direct mail. It may be a letter introducing yourself, or it may be your company brochure. So all of a sudden, we've got 1, 2, 3 little points of contact, and you may well keep churning the emails once a month, but then your sales team can put a phone call in to try and arrange a discovery meeting. And all of a sudden, there's something to talk about. You know, oh, we've been following you on LinkedIn and enjoying your content, or you would have received our email, or I hope you received our brochure last week. You can see where I'm going with this. So it's about knowing who you want to target and then specifically going after them. And the last thing I've got to say on targets or kissing a lot of frogs, Tom, is that you need to be persistent, okay? Not every architect or your target that you speak to is going to be at the right stage in the buying cycle to engage with you. So you have to have a really thick skin, and you have to just keep going and keep communicating with people. And that's where the CRM and the funnel sort of comes in, because maybe you make that phone call and they're on holiday. Well, then they get a follow-up email going through. Maybe you try them again in a month's time. It could take 3, 4, 6 months until you actually speak to who you need to. But in the meantime, they've become aware of you through the emails that are getting sent through. And it's quite sort of detailed, I guess. But the point is here, this is not about, hey, look at our business, aren't we wonderful? It's perhaps about, within your emails, sharing some important information that's relevant to them, perhaps helping them with their job. Yeah, making their life a little bit easier.
The biggest mistakes that you see people make, and I'm guessing it's along the lines of what you just highlighted. Yeah, but rather than putting words into your mouth, I'll let you answer it.
Right, yeah. So the biggest mistakes I see people make are thinking they need to be on all social media platforms. That's the first one, right? So often I go onto people's websites. They're on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, Pinterest, LinkedIn. You know, they've got the full suite. And when you look at their individual accounts, it's like 30 followers, 40 followers. They haven't posted on it in 3 months. Yeah. And my conversation with them is back to your target market. Who are you trying to target? Where are they active? And then forget about the rest.
Yeah.
You know, I think it's more damaging to go onto a company's website and see that their Facebook page for their website's got 30 followers than it is if it's not there at all. Mm. So my recommendation to those companies is remove those social presences, because they're actually doing you more harm than good, and focus on the few that are going to hit your target market. You're much better off doing one social media And you don't even, and the thing is as well, you don't even have to post, Tom. You can just go and be active and comment on other people's posts within your genre. Yeah. And if you become social, and let's remember that it's called social media, if you become social, you can actually get yourself a little bit of a following and traction from that as well.
Okay, excellent.
So that's one of the sort of the things that I see most common. The second thing is, I suppose people are impatient. They expect things to happen immediately and now. And, the vast majority of marketing takes a decent amount of time to gain traction. And it's never just one thing which makes the difference. It's actually the whole in the round, right? So you need to make sure that you're doing multiple marketing activities, which when somebody looks at you from the outside, they see the same consistent messages and images on every single touch point. So from your emails to your website, to your social, to your brochure, to your branded wares, to delivery on your vans, right? It's all very sort of consistent, on the review websites that your reviews are good and all that sort of fun stuff. People check you out quite a lot before they engage with you. These are some of the things that I generally start with people is, what's low cost or what's no cost, because you want to get some sort of traction with it before you believe that it's worth investing in, right?
Yeah.
So, right, what can I sort of say? I can pull one thing to hand here, right? So there's two things to hand, like promotional material. Okay, so people love a freebie. Mugs and pens are really good freebies. Take them along to your clients or to the prospective meetings that you're going to, and leave them with them, because the one thing that a mug does is that it has dwell time. It hangs around, right? It's there for a long time. So it's very low cost. It costs just a couple of pounds to sort of produce these. But in terms of your brand being around, it's going to hang around for a long time. And the same with pens and pencils. The thing about a branded top is, all right, this might have cost me £8 or £9, but I've now got a uniform where I can wear this to my meetings as well. So, and again, it looks a little bit more sort of professional.
Yeah.
As far as where should you start with low cost stuff? Well, think about word of mouth, think about networking. When was the last time that you spoke to your family and friends about what it is that you do? When was the last time that you actually asked them if they know anybody that they think could do with your products or services, right? Because who wants to help you more than your family and friends?
Yeah.
But we don't take the time to do these things. Like your neighbours, I don't just mean like the neighbours in the road where you live, but maybe you've got a shared office or you're on an industrial estate. When was the last time you just went to say hello? Like, these sort of things, they are free, but people generally don't do them. As far as printed materials are concerned, you can produce, if you're a small business, you can produce maybe a flyer. It doesn't need to be cheap and horrible. You can go in for some quality in terms of the materials that you use, but go and knock on the doors, walk in, say hi. My name's Tom, and this is what I do, and open a conversation with people. Generally, the vast majority of businesses for small business owners comes from word of mouth. Yeah, from someone that you've met networking, or someone that you've done business with telling somebody else. So make sure that you've got the tools to pass those messages on, if that makes sense.